Breaking the gray.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi again, Russ.
How are you?
I was going to say long time no see, but it's not really, is it? I'm good.
No, it isn't. And I'm not even going to say it out loud, but my hands are in prayer that we don't have what we typically have this season. And I don't think we're going to have it this episode. I think it's going to be smooth sailing.
Well, I happen to know you've got your sage burning in the background, so I think we're all right. The gremlins have gone. Yeah.
Gremlins are gone. I have sage. For our YouTube channel, that is not a Cheech and Chong pooch. That is actually sage. And we can thank our friend Paul Wood for bringing demons into our lives that I actually need sage to clear them out, because he and I did a podcast and he's writing a script about the serial killers of Santa Cruz, which we're all familiar with. And I now need sage to clear the demons. Yeah. So anyhow, we're here. And we have Deanne back, our favorite.
Our favorite. Yes, Deanne Deaville, of course. We're so glad to have you back, Deanne. Actually, your podcast is one of our favorites, and it's one that we refer to all the time.
Oh, well, I feel so flattered. I'm not sure why that is, but I mean, not that I know why I'm flattered. I'm not sure why you refer to it.
It's interesting. Sarah, you were here recently and you were staying at Deanne's house, right?
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you mention that there was a pig there?
There's a whole farm.
There's a whole farm. Okay. Can we please talk about that for a second?
Menagerie.
I used to have a farm. In fact, my daughter and I were just talking about it, and she was wondering what possessed me to go this far. Because as a kid, it was really fun for them. At one point, we had 18 animals, and 16 of them lived here at this house. 2 horses were boarded. The other 16 were here, which included, and this was before the pig, we had guinea pigs and rabbits and birds and dogs and cats and chickens. I had a turkey running around. I had turkey eggs. And so, yes, it was entertaining. And today, though, so at one point I said, enough, no more new animals. It's going to be attrition and then whatever's left over. So today I have, because it's, kids are out of the house. So it's me with 1 pig, 3 dogs, and 1 cat. So only 5 animals at this point.
And what kind of a pig is it?
He's a potbelly pig. He's about 100 pounds or so.
Pig.
Yeah, he's 12 years old.
If you needed to, how old do they live?
Well, if I keep him healthy and he remains cancer-free, and so he eats healthy food. So I imagine he will, we're all still subject to the environment, but he's a pretty good environment, pretty low-stress life, lots of veggies. And so he'll probably go to 20, 22, who knows?
And are pigs vegetarians?
Well, they'll eat whatever you eat. He'll eat bacon.
They will. That's disgusting.
God, no.
Well, I mean,
never do that.
I don't even know how humans taste, but I have to imagine it must taste disgusting because it's not on any menu anywhere.
I'm not sure that's the reason why it's not on any menu anywhere.
I know. Yeah. Anyhow, okay. That was a great start. Deanne said, let it go where it goes. I saw the background and I was like, I have to bring up the pig. Okay. Yeah. Deanne, you are here to talk about something far more important than eating humans.
Okay, good. Because I can't really talk about eating humans. I don't have any experience with that. I would just be guessing. And we could have fun with that if you wanted, but.
Someone somewhere tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that's why we got all kinds of things going on. But let's get back to Deanne and what she's been doing since we last spoke. Because, yes, you're right. I did go and stay with Deanne. And of course, she's progressed since we last spoke. And she's been doing a lot of interesting things. And so that's why it's so cool to have her back on. I mean, Deanne, I'll let you speak for yourself. But I know that you've been kind of doing psychedelics and you've been doing the toad thing, which I can never remember the name. All kinds of interesting things, which I'd really like to catch up on because it's kind of more going towards consciousness expanding as well as kind of being in top level health.
Right. It really is. And it's all kind of new to me as well, in that psychedelics are becoming more mainstream now. Michael Pollan has done an awful lot to bring it out in the open, and psilocybin kind of thing. But there are many other forms of psychedelics. And you mentioned the toad. There's a toad and a frog. The toad, there's a toad licking thing. There's something on the skin of the toad, which when you go to a clinic, you don't truly lick a toad. They extract it and they put it in your mouth. Or they may even create it in a lab. I'm not really sure. But what I did was Cambo, which is, it's like a tree frog venom. And Cambo is rather interesting. It's legal in all 50 states. And in South America, it's known as a warrior medicine. So they take Cambo in preparing for battle. And what they say is that enhances all your like opens up dilates your pupils. It really kind of accentuates the fight or flight, essentially. It readies your body and you're incredibly sharp and aware. It readies your body for war, essentially. And so the first time that I did Cambo was several months ago. And I was a little nervous because we're in a group of 10 people in a circle. And the format is the shaman will go around to each person and basically burn 3 little holes. And I don't know, you can't really see probably. You can kind of see there's 3 little scars there. This was the first time I did it. They burned 3 tiny little holes. These are called the gates, to open the gates. And then they apply the medicine, and it takes a few minutes, but it gets through the lymphatic system. And since there were 10 of us, he did first 5 people on the other side of the circle, and then I'm on the other side. So I got to witness the first 5 people getting this.
And you didn't run. You like, I'm staying.
I was tempted to run. Let me tell you. Yeah, so the one of the women, she's like, oh no, and she's fanning herself, and she's like, then she gets on the ground, she's rolling on the ground, and she's like in agony. And my daughter is sitting next to me, and she says, "Mom, you're going to be good. You're going to be fine." And I'm like, what am I doing? And so I thought, I've committed to this. I want to do this. I'm here, right? This is it. You got to try everything, right? You guys know this. This is part of your whole thing. Is like, give us a challenge. We're going to do this challenge for the week. You try things, right? You got one life. Just go through it, right? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And it takes a few minutes, but after the medicine starts getting through the system, for me, it's probably a little different for everybody, but for me, I felt like heat rising literally like from my toes all the way up to my head. And my head felt really, really hot and such pressure. Like I thought my head's going to explode. And really hot. And I'm like, all right. And headache. And then my eyes, like I started to lose my vision. Some people don't lose vision at all. And they say, focus on something straight ahead of you, just to have and I was looking at a tree. I'm like, stay focused on this tree. My vision really narrowed. I'm like just staring at this tree. I couldn't see anything else around me. In fact, most everything was kind of turned white. I was pretty much like blind. But I could see this one dot of the tree. It wasn't even green anymore. And it's like breathing through it. I'm remembering the drill of focus and breathing. And remember that it's like you're a warrior. You're a warrior. And going through it. And then you start purging. And because prior to Cambo, prior to the medicine being applied, you drink 3 liters of water within 15 to 20 minutes. And you need to drink it quickly because you don't want it to get through your digestive system. We want it to, because you start purging, you want something to purge, but you don't want it to come basically from your gut. Like it's not fully digested, right? So it's an easier relative term. But this way, it's to do is to release the toxins from the lymphatic system, not your gut. But you need that water to do it. So I start purging, and it lasts about, probably 15, 20 minutes. And I couldn't see when I'm purging because I'm, it's just going on the ground on the rocks in front of us. We're in the Arizona desert. So I can't see because I'm seeing white. But later I was told that it was pretty much neon green, kind of like antifreeze. And which I'm told, yeah, right? It's like, okay, that was inside my body. I'm told that color is like releasing heavy metals. So I thought, this is good. I want to release heavy metals, right? So after about 15, 20 minutes, I'm pretty weak. I'm starting to drink some water. Coconut water is good. And I'm feeling pretty weak and tired. But then after about 10 or 15 minutes after that, I thought, I feel good. Like my vision came back and I could see really clearly. And it's like, I felt strong. And I thought, oh, I can see why people do this. And now I've done Cambo several times since, and I don't always have that same experience, but it's rather interesting. And it's not psychedelic whatsoever. Not at all. It's just a purging.
Have you looked at the science? Deanne, how that might be working, that the toxins are actually draining out of your lymphatic system?
I have not found anything really deep on the science. It's more of, who's doing it. But Western medicine is usually the one who does the science, or the biohacker group. So maybe you guys will do the science. It's more this esoteric kind of alternative type of group. And they're not doing the science. They're just saying this has been done for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. And so I don't know the science, but we know the reports of the benefits.
And what's your direct report? What was your experience? Because, you must have felt some positive experience to go back and do it again.
I did.
Because it sounds quite intense.
Yeah, it is very intense. And sometimes I wonder why. It's like when I first get that rush of feeling and that heat, it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I subjecting myself to this and paying for it, like money, let alone paying? But I do feel the benefits. I do feel cleaner. There is a release of toxins that I can really genuinely feel. And I've done it 4 times. I'm not sure that it's like, do I need to keep doing it? I don't know. There's people who do it once a month, just as an ongoing thing. I mean, we live in a toxic world, right? I don't have any plans at the moment to do it again, but yeah, I'd do it again. Yeah.
Wow. That's
but
amazing.
Again, it's no psychedelic whatsoever. So on the psychedelic side, also at the same time that it's frequently done with Cambo is ayahuasca, which is plant medicine. Plant medicine's pretty amazing.
So come on, we want to hear about the plant medicine. Is it as horrendous? I'm holding up my table.
We're gonna have Deanne purge. This is a purge fest for Deanne. And after this, Sarah and I will purge our childhood traumas. Deanne, so a quick question for you on the Cambo. So why then do they take it for like warrior mode? Like, did you feel invincible? Did you have this invincibility piece to you?
Absolutely. When it finally passed, and it is a good, 15, 20 minutes. The second time, I think it was longer, from 30 minutes or something, but it's like, wow, I feel like real true power, right? I mean, I feel like I could just take stuff on.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
It's kind of that euphoric, maybe, of getting rid of the toxins.
Right.
It's kind of a euphoria.
It is.
It's kind of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in a way, I suppose. A little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Totally. So ayahuasca, on the other hand, and I know people that have done it. Psychedelics in me I'm already living in a psychedelic world, so I don't try not to mess with it. But on the ayahuasca side, it is purging as well. And like technically someone said to me, it releases the same hormone that you would release right before you die. So it's this kind of the claim of like, you see your whole life in front of you. That's what it is. It's that like your body is purging itself. And so, but I'd love to hear, because the person I know that did it passed out cold and hit their head and didn't enjoy it at all.
Oh, it's a little disappointing, right?
Yeah. It's totally disappointing, and covered in their own vomit, and it was just not a good scene. And but I'd love to hear how it was for you and the process as well, because the process is interesting too.
It is, and I have done it a few different times, 3 times. And the first time, it was just very entertaining, if you will. I just was having fun, and I fell asleep a lot, and I was like kind of beating myself up, like, don't fall asleep. Come on, do some work here. Like, get through some stuff here. Like, put this to work, because that's typically my mode. It's like I'm always about self-improvement, and it's like, no, just relax, just enjoy it. But then the next time I did it several months later, 2 nights in a row. And when typically, every shaman is going to be a little bit different. Every ceremony is a little different, but typically the shaman you drink your first cup, and then several hours later, they walk around and say, offer a second cup if you want it to go again, and even a third cup. And so the very first time I did it, I only did 1 cup, so it wasn't super intense. But the next time I was committed to taking more. And so the second time, it was rather interesting because it is definitely a psychedelic. And there was at one point, and they encourage you to have an intention or a question before going into this. And one of the things that somebody suggested, it's like, ask what it's like to fly. And because that can be really fun. And so I kind of did that. But again, with me and my science geeky, it's like I want to know stuff kind of thing. I said, okay, let's fly. And then a voice was saying, it's like, well, would you like to see the universe? And so I flew, literally, I was in the universe and I could see, like the Milky Way galaxy, the beautiful colors that you see on these pictures. I was in it, in the middle of it. And what was most fascinating about it to me was that it wasn't just the colors and the stars and everything that we see normally, but I saw a grid pattern. It was like geometry and, that sacred geometrical pattern kind of thing. And I could see that everywhere, like a blanket. It's like, wow, the world is made up. Like math is truly the language and I can see it. It's in front of me. I felt suspended and supported and part of it was a very spiritual experience, part of such a bigger thing. And then when I'm back in my seat and we're all sitting in front of a fire and I'm looking at the fire, I see the same thing. I see the fire as a total grid and it's like math, language right in front of me. It's like, I'm looking around. It's like everything's this pattern. And
I know what it is, Deanne. I know what it is.
Yeah.
It's that you saw the Matrix. You found the glitch in the Matrix.
It's the glitch, right?
You found the glitch in the Matrix. Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
It's true. Well, yeah. It's so interesting, the universe piece. And it was funny. My daughter took a class in college of, psychology of death. And this obsession with death and so worried about dying. And so I was talking to my therapist about it. I said, my poor daughter, she just can't get it out of her head. And she took this class. And I think it's making it worse. She's like, actually, I don't think it makes it worse because what ends up happening is that you start to look at death not as the end, but as the beginning of the next stage you're going to go into or the next plane you're going to go to. And that's where it gets interesting because if you look at your life as being, just this thing that you're in now, surrounded by all this negativity and crap that we have and all this is just one part of a very long history or story that you're gonna live. It's very different. You start to see things very differently than this momentary negativity or whatever it is that you have.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing that that we do have this fear of death, but I'm also really wondering, is it truly a fear of death? Because beyond it, there's the unknown, and we fear the unknown, right? It's not necessarily safe. We don't know what to expect. When I've talked to a lot of people, especially with cancer, and they're facing the potential of dying, because cancer can be very serious, is that it's really that they haven't lived the life that they've wanted to live and they're afraid of dying before they do. So there's the component of that beyond and that fear of the beyond. But it's like, wait, but I was going to travel the world, right? Here's my bucket list. I haven't done anything on it. And we haven't reached our potential.
Yeah, it's the ultimate FOMO,
right?
Isn't it?
Right?
The ultimate fear that other people are going to be doing things without you and that you haven't done the things that you wanted to do, what you're going to leave behind.
And we're missing out. And the thing is that day after day, here's another day. What am I going to do today that's toward my bucket list? Or am I just going to keep slogging away in what I've always done, which leads to the tomorrow that I'm fearful that I'm going to die before I get my stuff done.
Yeah.
So it's a gift. It's,
It is. And we talked about this the last time you were on about how fortunate you were to dodge the cancer. And, I think that those are very real moments where you're like, okay, what am I going to do differently so that if this was my last day on earth,
right.
How will I enjoy it? Right. And it's hard to live that way because there are days where you're like, this sucks. I don't really want to do work today. I would rather not do work today. But still trying to find that positivity is I think the trick to, rewiring your brain a little bit.
Right. And that's a challenge, right? And honestly, I think ayahuasca helps with that, as many things do. Meditation is probably the easiest, and yet it's the hardest. It's free. We can sit down and do it at any time. But I've been meditating for literally 40 years, and I'm still not an expert practice meditator. I'm not always committing to it, right? Because it's the hardest thing to do, and yet it's the easiest thing to do, to sit down and try to quiet your mind and sit in stillness. And my monkey mind's going. It takes 20 minutes for it to finally settle down. And it's like, yeah, but now I got to go. I got things to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's, yeah.
But so the psychedelics can help with that because, and back to the ayahuasca, that when I don't remember if it was the first or the second night when I did the weekend one, but there was a point where after I did the second cup, that there was some clear stuff that wanted to come out of me. And so I started purging, and I didn't purge before when I had the previous times I'd done ayahuasca. And I started purging. I'm like, why? What am I getting rid of? And again, here's me, this self-improvement. I got to get the lesson out of this, right? And so I'm saying, what is this? What am I trying to get rid of here? What am I to release? What's the lesson? And from behind, I felt a very strong female presence just coming up and hugging me and just holding me and supporting me and lovingly just saying, some shit's just not yours. You got to let it go. And interesting, because I think it was 2 weeks before that, I had done my second Cambo, and the woman who was administering it, she said, I sense a lot of ancestral stuff in you that needs to be released. So that's the Cambo we did, to release ancestral, tribal, like 14 generations kind of thing, going back and releasing some of this stuff that I'm carrying, epigenetics. And that was a hard Cambo. That was really rough. And then after that, a couple weeks later, doing this ayahuasca and then feeling this, it's like, wow, okay. What do we know? How much are we carrying that we just think is who we are? It's our personality. That it's old stuff coming through us, right?
Yeah. And how do you feel after doing that? I mean, do you actually feel a shift? Because it's one thing to kind of have that awareness in the moment,
yep,
but to carry that through into your day-to-day, have you been able to do that, to hold that essence and to kind of feel that letting go, if you like?
Yeah, to an extent. So the first 10 days, the medicine kind of stays within, and it's an intention, a daily intention to kind of keep on it. And it can last forever, really, if you stay with that intention and that mindfulness about it. But over time, I go back to my old habits. And that's why doing this monthly or having a good, steadfast daily practice is really important, because then it does continue. And there are some days I'm better at it than others. It's still a practice.
Do you find after ayahuasca or after Cambo, do you find that you are more sensitive to toxic people in your life? Like, is there something?
Yeah, good question. It's like,
that's why you didn't call me. That's why you didn't call me, Deanne. That's why you didn't call. No, I'm sorry. But it's probably becomes very noticeable. I think after therapy too, you're like, sometimes you have a really good therapy session. You're like, I have to purge this person from my life because they are reminding me of this thing constantly.
Right. It really brings it into the forefront. And I am acutely aware now of, and it's interesting to kind of look at the self saying, well, why do I feel obligated to have this person in my life? If family members are a little tougher because, they're family, right? But there are certain friends or acquaintances. It's like, why? I don't need to have them in my life. Why do I feel this obligation, this tie? Is there some ancestral stuff there? The energies of this person is somebody from my past. I don't know, but it's really, really important to really examine everybody who's in any kind of an influence on you, if they are positively impacting you or draining your energy, and you got to cut them out or reduce the exposure. But definitely,
yeah.
Have you done that yourself? I mean, have you been able to do that? Because that's also, easier said than done sometimes.
It is, but I've been working at it.
Select your community.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been working at it, and it's getting better for sure. And the other part is like when I'm interacting with them and I know that I'm going into this situation, it's like I just have better boundaries. I'm more aware of it now. Whereas I used to get sucked in and play the role that I thought was expected of me. So I was perpetuating it. And now I recognize that role that I was doing, and I'm stepping in as a different person. It's like, I don't need to be that. So here I am in a different way.
Yeah. There's such an obsession. And Sarah and I just did an interview around movement, and the movement therapy. She was saying that there's this part of it where people feel strange. Like, how do I look doing it? I don't want to do it. I'm nervous. But we're so concerned about how other people are going to perceive us.
Right.
That I wonder if Cambo and ayahuasca allow you to stop worrying so much about how people see you, because you've seen yourself now. You're like, I'm good with this. Like I've seen everything inside and outside. So maybe now I can not worry so much about what everyone else thinks, because they're all the messed up people, not me. I'm fine.
Right. And I'll tell you, once you decide to become yourself and step into your authentic being, it's like, it's so much easier and it's way more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a key.
I did have a question though, because I know that the people that I know for ayahuasca, didn't go to Peru. They didn't go to the jungle to do it and have a traditional shaman. There are, I know we probably shouldn't say, but there are places that you can do this in America that have a shaman as well, right?
Right, there are. Yeah. Yeah. And it's pretty quiet. It's not like published in the newspaper. But yes, there are places. And yeah, there's, I know people who go regularly to Costa Rica or to Colombia. And in Colombia, there is a shaman. I don't know his name, but he's apparently 108 years old and he still drinks medicine daily. And he's in this very small town. Like you have to take a little puddle jumper and then like a 4-hour bus ride and you're deep in the jungle. But when you get to this town, there's murals of this man painted everywhere because he's the town's, he's the shaman. Everybody reveres this man. And he has been drinking the medicine daily and apprenticing. He started apprenticing ceremonies when he was 8 years old. So he's literally been doing this for 100 years.
Wow. That's incredible. Yep. And what would your advice be for people? Because people are probably going to look into this. I mean, obviously we don't recommend anything to anyone, right. But it's just interesting to hear, how you would think people might at least investigate this a little bit, especially the frog venom. That's something that people can do.
Absolutely.
Is it, is there a way to ease into it, or is that just like full on you're doing it or you're not doing it?
Well, you don't really ease into Cambo because once they put, the gates.
Once it's in, it's in.
Once it's in, it's in. Yeah. However,
once the gates open.
However, the last time I did Cambo, one woman had 17 gates. I've only done 5 at the most. Like here's my first one was 3, and I've done other points that they've done 5. And so it's more medicine, so it's more intense. And one woman, she did 17, and it's like, wow, that's impressive. I haven't gone there. So if somebody was interested in this, look up Cambo, because there are many practitioners all over, and it's legal in all 50 states. It's not an easy thing to do, but I'll do it again. And then from there, you can talk to the practitioner that's administering it and maybe find some other options as well beyond Cambo.
Yeah, super cool. And what do you think we spoke to you quite a while ago on the I think it was season 2 of the podcast. Well, what do you think has been your major learning since we last spoke to you? Has it been this plant medicine or something else?
Well, the plant medicine is assisted in it, but really the major learning is how disconnected I was from who I am in my essence. And so the plant medicine certainly helps with that. But cancer is often called, often in alternative circles, not Western medicine, it's often known as a disease of disconnect. And so much of our life and how we are in the world, in our culture, in our society, and we're human doings. We're not really human beings, and we're constantly being efficient and getting stuff done, right? And we stay in our head, and our body is simply a transport system to move this brain around to get stuff done. And we're disconnected from how we're feeling, and we're taught at a very young age too that if you're not feeling good, it's like, don't be a crybaby. Don't say anything bad about somebody else. So we're taught to repress these feelings that are real feelings. And so as we get older, we don't know how to handle feelings that don't feel so good. So we just repress them. And as we get busier and busier with our life, and we're working and we're basically trading our time for money and, looking for happiness and fearing death because we're not living to our potential, all of this leads up to numbing the body, where people turn to alcohol or other substances to avoid feeling these awful feelings. And then, of course, something comes of it, like cancer or lots of things, right? And it's really, truly a disease of disconnect. And when we realize, it's like, wait, what am I doing? What's important to me? How is my body feeling? And really connecting to who we are as an authentic human being. Again, like I said, it's so much easier and more fun to be yourself. But as you mentioned about, people doing movement, and it's like, how do I look? Do I look goofy or whatever? It's like, we're so concerned, and we put these masks on because we want to have that approval. And it's hardwired. We're tribal beings that if we're kicked out of the tribe, we literally die. So it's understandable, but that's why we got to create our own tribe, like you guys, right? It's like, I can be whoever I am, and you guys will still love me, and you're my tribe. It's good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's about community and connection. Yeah, we've said this many times, Deanne. And that's about where you're talking about, Russ, about getting rid of toxic people from your lives, because really the people who you have in your tribe really do shape you and help you get to your full potential. Because if you're having to put on a mask for people, you're just limiting yourself.
Absolutely. And so that's been the biggest thing, I think, in the last. So my cancer diagnosis was 5 years ago now. So technically, they've changed it. It used to be if you lived 5 years, they called you a cancer survivor. They've changed it to 1 year, apparently.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So,
okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they want more cancer survivors, but yet they weren't getting it if you had.
Oh, yeah.
So technically, I'm truly a cancer survivor. And again, my prognosis was so bad at the time that my oncologist said if I did not do what he said of chemo and radiation, I'd be dead in 6 months. And so, I feel like, I'm ahead of the game. Am I cancer free? I don't know. Do I feel good? Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Do I have stuff going on? Sure. But, I'm 56. Stuff happens, right?
Yeah. The post 50 is really, really interesting. But your body tells you so many different things now. Your body's like high alert all the time. You're like, I used to like wake up and be like, oh, I got a pain here. Now I just have pain constantly. And I'm just like, my body's like high alert, high alert. And if you don't respond to it, then it's not really a high alert. So maybe we have to tell our bodies to stop sending me the high alert because I'm just going to ignore you anyway. And I just am moving. I don't care if people see me. So
right, exactly. We love you anyway.
Yeah. I wanted her to talk about the infant movement. And it's funny, like right after we did the interview, I went upstairs and let my dogs out, to kind of do their morning ritual. And both of them did the shake. So I'm like, I'll shake with them.
Right.
They're not going to judge my shake, right? They're not going to judge my shake. My dogs did it too.
Take it off,
right?
Because you were a bit.
I did.
Did you take off all of that techie stuff?
Yeah. My lab gets his jowls going. So, and I have some jowls too, so I can get my jowls like my lab going. So.
As long as the saliva is not going everywhere, that's okay.
Right, exactly. I'm pretty good at keeping the mouth closed.
I was a dog, not you, but okay.
No, I know. It's the same for me though. But Deanne, I honestly, this is so fascinating. I think, as we always say here, this is not recommended for everybody. There are things here that some people probably would not be great for them. But I think where you are in your life and why it meant so much to you, I think is the important thing in that, and the findings that you've had from it. I think knowing about the Cambo going into warrior mode, but also like going into like maybe not full warrior mode, but just going into like recognition mode is awesome. And the ayahuasca thing is, there's so much about it now. And I have found the 108-year-old shaman. His name is Tata Kurubin in Colombia.
Yeah.
And that article was from 2 years ago. So he might be 110 now.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Right?
But every day, that kind of makes life fun. If you're drinking plant medicine every day,
And there's rumors that he's a true shapeshifter and he becomes a panther.
Okay.
What do we know? What do we know?
Right.
We can believe that it's not possible.
Would you choose a panther? What would you, if we could shapeshift? We only have 2 minutes left. If we could shapeshift, what would we be?
Oh,
Dan, what would you be if you could shapeshift?
I'd be an orca.
A badger?
I'd be an orca.
An English badger, though, not those kind of little American ones. The great big English ones, the black and white ones with the furry snouts. I'd be one of those.
Ooh, that's interesting. Why is that?
It's the coolest animal we have. It's pretty tame. Everything is much, much tamer in England, but we do have a bigger badger at least, and it's pretty gnarly. So.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Orcas. I like orcas.
Yeah.
Orcas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just to swim so freely like that, and the power of just slicing through the water, that would just be so cool. So there is a bear in Hungary that apparently got into some mad honey.
I saw that.
And so this bear is just,
it had a
psychedelic experience. And so you can look up the video and there's this bear just sitting in the trunk, like in the back of the trunk, like.
They had to take him to come down.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I have been writing a lot and all my writing centers around flying for some reason. And my latest script is about this obsession with flying. So I definitely was an owl at some point in my past life. And owls are such amazing animals. I mean, there's like in Mexico, owls are angels and they're seen as angels. But in other parts of the world, they're seen as like gateway. They like are in charge of the gateway. So, whenever anyone says they witnessed an alien or an alien abducted them, they always say they saw an owl. They'll always see an owl appeared first and then the aliens appeared. So I do think I was an owl, and maybe I was in charge of someone's gate, and I don't know whose gate that was. It makes me nervous to think about. But I think being an owl would be cool. You're up at night, everyone's asleep. You're just, I can echolocate my food. I don't have to see anything. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, so I think maybe an ayahuasca maybe is in your future to experience that.
Yes.
No, it will not be. But I will listen to everyone else's stuff.
We're always up for the 7-day challenge, and it's something like I say we're going to reintroduce.
Yeah,
so maybe next time we'll have you on, Deanne.
I'll interview Sarah while she's doing the ayahuasca. I will not be participating. No, thank you.
Okay, so I have to announce you guys for the next 7 days. So next 7 days. Yeah. Whenever you're working or you're doing something and you notice that you're tense and your shoulders are up and your body's tense, stop and breathe and feel your body. And it's like, okay, how would I rather feel? Like right now, would I rather feel relaxed and radiant and open-hearted or courageous? Or like, what is a feeling like you'd like to have right now? And then feel it, because it starts with feelings and then that generates the hormonal response. So it changes our physiology, but we can choose how to feel. So it's just about observation. Just notice how you're feeling and change it.
That's so cool. And it dovetails with what we were learning about the body. If you assume the posture of that too, it helps you feel it.
Absolutely.
And that's why they do the warrior in yoga.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Deanne, we're there.
Seen that.
We're there. Thank you again.
Thank you
for coming on again. It's such a pleasure as always.
Good. Always good to talk to you both.
Yes.
We'll have you back soon. Thank you.
We'll definitely
All right,
have you
bye.
back soon. Take care, Deanne. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Rebel Scientist podcast is a Breaking the Gray production, hosted by Sarah Turner and Russ Eisenman. Audio production by Dave Visaya and the podcast engineers. For more information and for our biohacking shopping guide, visit rebelscientist.com. To hear more incredible Breaking the Gray production podcasts, visit breakingthegray.com. That's gray with an E. breakingthegray.com.
Breaking the